he dripped with insincerity. You know what I mean? Like when after I was gone for a while and I came back to the Royal Rumble, he was like, well, that's what I enjoy about these things is like you get to see people that aren't normally here that come back, you know, and to let me know I'm not part of the family or whatever. You know, when I inducted Sheik into the Hall of Fame, the next day he was in the lunchroom and he was like, Rob, you were charming and funny and witty, you know, like what a backhanded compliment. It's like, dude, I know you think I'm retarded.
There's been rumors of Rob Van Dam joining the WWE universe here. We'll see how that works out. Great impression of HBK in the meantime. But we'll move to Toronto because Raw was on the road leading up to SummerSlam, and the Toronto native Robert Roode had his opportunity at the World Light Heavyweight Championship, held of course by AJ Styles. AJ going into this one, not necessarily the babyface, although Robert Roode doesn't exactly paint himself as a good guy either. He has had a few tours with WWE before this point, Robert Roode, and is of course the youngest ever NWA Canadian champion. Not the current champion, of course, that is Owen Hart. But you see there the donkey kick the referee must have missed, and AJ Styles going for the kill here, that twisting senton, not getting the job done. The Styles Clash will, though, lands it perfectly, and Robert Roode will have to wait for another time to get his hands on the Light Heavyweight Championship, AJ Styles retaining. They then moved on to Mexico City, and a bit of controversy here. Shelton Benjamin getting the shot at the Intercontinental title, with Nakamura most people's pick as the number one contender, but Razor Ramon has some backstage influence and managed to skirt Nakamura, who he feels is not deserving of a championship match yet, despite having defeated him in a tag match not too long ago. Nakamura since then been feuding with Click Pal X-Pac, but Razor Ramon here taking the fight to Shelton Benjamin, who has strung together some victories as of late, so it's not completely out of the blue in terms of a number one contender, or he being a number one contender, but still not really up for the challenge here is Shelton Benjamin, and in front of the fans that, in fairness, are behind Razor Ramon. He is a fan favorite here in Mexico City. He hits the Razor's Edge and gets the win via pinfall to retain the Intercontinental Championship. Now, moving on to Monterrey, and we had a hometown hero, Carrillo, or Humberto Carrillo. He took on Eddie Guerrero for the World Cruiserweight Championship, and many times, if you saw Eddie Guerrero in Monterrey, he would be the hero, but not tonight. He was here with the actual hometown favorite, with Carrillo, who was very close to being number one contender not too long ago when he had his run with the WWE, but has since gone back to Mexico, has been successful since being there, and is most certainly a worthy opponent for the Cruiserweight Championship. But you see here Eddie Guerrero, one frog splash, not enough as far as he was concerned. He rubbed salt in the wound, hit a second, and he also retains his championship, leading us to SummerSlam, which came to us from Los Angeles, California, and the opening match was a cracker. Isaiah Swerve Scott and Ricochet. It's the blow-off to their long-running feud, and the winner of this one will be the number one contender to Eddie Guerrero's Cruiserweight Championship. Now, some fans deem this a bit of a spot fest, and it certainly was packed with exciting moves and a lot of flips. So I'll just leave you to enjoy all of it. It was a really high energy affair, but certainly no love lost either between these two. It was competitive all the way, and a real, certainly worthy of being a number one contenders match to the world title. between these two. Ricochet, we have seen more of. We know of his immaculate talent. Swerve Scott, though, newer to the promotion and to the sport, really. Look at this. Piles up Ricochet and wins the match there. And Swerve is now the #1 contender to Eddie Guerrero's championship. And it's been a whirlwind of a run for him to get to that spot. So a huge match coming up there. Next, a tag match featuring some of the bright young talents of the heavyweight division. There was Loomis, Orton, the bad guys, if you will, taking on Big E and Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre, who we haven't seen since King of the Ring. He had that grueling 3 matches only to get to the final and lose out to the King of the Ring champion, Braun Strowman. But he's returned here, rested up, hopefully, but perhaps a little rusty. Big E and Dexter Loomis took up a lot of this match, though. Plenty of energy between these two. And Dexter Loomis very quickly improving as he makes his way across the WWE tours. And Big E showing he can hang with the former world champion Randy Orton as well. Of course, Randy Orton defeated Dexter Loomis in the King of the Ring. Since then, just kind of realizing that he's better as a friend than a foe, and it's hard to disagree there, Loomis being a pretty creepy character. But Big E, not afraid at all, can toss around pretty much anyone, and really went to work on Loomis. Although, look at this. Unbelievable suplex from Loomis, a new one from him, and that put Big E out of commission for a moment. Drew McIntyre certainly did come into this looking a little bit rusty, and he managed to fight his way out of a head and arm choke there, a counter, and an attempt at a finish, the leg sweep, the STO, but Loomis kicking out. And here we have a tag opportunity for both men, but Drew McIntyre decided not to tag Big E in, seeing that Randy Orton was coming back. Of course, they faced each other in the King of the Ring as well, but you see there the RKO connecting on Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre got the win over Randy Orton at that time, but this time Randy Orton does the damage, tags in Loomis, and that head and arm choke, leaving Drew McIntyre with no option but to submit. And a formidable tag team here, Dexter Loomis and Randy Orton. I wonder if it's going to continue beyond this. Now for a very exciting match, one of the most anticipated matches of SummerSlam, and another blow-off match, if you will. It's a long-running feud between Sami Zayn and Jeff Hardy, and this will take place inside a cage. Now, the rules, it's not one of those you can climb out of the cage to escape and win the match that way deals. Not at all. This is all about keeping the guys in the cage. There will be no outside interference. There will be no funny business. Apart from here, Sami Zayn, of course, using the cage to his advantage, but that's part of the match type, and he was not afraid to do so. The slimy Sami Zayn, willing to take any advantage he can. And the fans, of course, backing Jeff Hardy very much so in this match, despite the trouble he ran into over and over. That one backfired, though. Hardy's errant foot kicked him in the face. But it didn't deter Zayn until the roles were reversed. He got a taste of his own medicine. There's a twist of fate there. Jeff Hardy climbing the cage. What on earth is he doing? He can't win by escape, but that's not what he's looking to do. Jeff Hardy up to the top and falls flat in his face. That's no good. And everyone now feeling like there's no way Jeff Hardy can come back from that, but he does. He's a crazy son of a gun. He hits another twist of fate, a reverse one this time, and once again, instead of going for the pin, he just needs to land on Sami Zayn from a height for some reason. He's an absolute nutjob. What is he thinking? Jeff Hardy, is he going to crash and burn again? No, this time it connects. And the pinfall is secured. Jeff Hardy defeating Sami Zayn And if his body's still in one piece, maybe the next contender for the lightweight championship. Moving along, though, this is for the United States Championship. And John Cena coming out ready to take on Goldberg. A real young fella versus old fella contest here. And Cena, we know how good his striking is, but Goldberg there able to reverse it and start his powerhouse style, put that into action. But Cena here, it seems he came into this with a game plan, and the referee not too worried about those close fist strikes to the head. But it was these strikes that were a real concern for Goldberg. It was clearly a tactic of John Cena's, apart from any other advantage he could find, was to attack those legs. Here he is again and again. He wants to eliminate the mobility of the old man, but in promos that he had prior to the match, he was talking about retiring Goldberg and feeling as if he could be the man to do that. But Goldberg here, once again, coming back. John Cena stutters in his step and counters again, goes back to the legs. Just ruthless from Cena. A powerbomb here. Goldberg keeps fighting back, finding ways to fight back, but John Cena keeps cutting him off. And John Cena's greater stamina perhaps playing a big part in this. Goldberg fighting his way back into it. Hitting a nice spinning neck breaker there, and then lining up the spear, but instead of going for the jackhammer, he goes straight for the cover, and that could have been due to his legs. John Cena was able to kick out of the spear and continue his fight. A kick to the chops from Goldberg there, though. Then the spear. He does go for the jackhammer. He has to really think about it, fire up, but he gets John Cena up, and down he gets for the 3 count. Goldberg does manage to retain, but is walking very gingerly following this match, and we might have to wait a while before we see Goldberg again. We'll wait for the medical report. But the main event, of course, the World Heavyweight Championship on the line, and this unstoppable monster, Braun Strowman, making his way to the ring to face the current reigning, defending heavyweight champion of the world, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Of course, this being in LA, The Rock was doing a lot of the promotional work leading up to this match, and some questioned whether he was doing too much. He's got a humongous test here ahead of him, and at first it looked like The Rock was hanging in there. Certainly in terms of power, there's very few that match The Rock. Braun Strowman must be one of them at the very least, but in the early stages, Rock was getting some flow going, managing to keep Braun at bay. But you see here Braun just continuously getting up. Rock feels like the end is nigh. Goes for the spine buster, hits it, and a little bit of showboating to come. Scoots Braun over. Throws the elbow pad into the adoring fans and successfully hits the people's elbow, though it wasn't enough. And if anything, it's been a trend. Sometimes that kind of stuff just fires Braun up and he goes to a new level. Things get dirtier. He throws Rock into the steps, into the barricade. Kicks his head in. Oh, that's no fun. And once the match gets back into the ring, it's just Braun throwing Rock around. And if he was struggling for win before Rock, he's really struggling at this point. Look at that. That'll break a rib. And it's just relentless from this point on. Braun Strowman with the moves. He did go for the power slam, and Rock was able to come back after that, but very quickly Braun just overpowering him again. And look at that, just the hammer fist slamming Rock to the mat. More tossing around. Even this one, a bit of his own showboating, lifting Rock above his head. And you see there the abs of Braun Strowman just fiery red, like he's from another planet. The Power Slam lands and Rock is down for the count. We have a new World Heavyweight Champion, and it's not what the fans wanted to see, most of them in attendance anyway, but it's hard to deny Braun Strowman at the moment. This guy is intimidating, and no one yet has found a way to overcome his incredible size and strength. Who is it? Who can be the one to take the title off of this monster of a man? We shall see. But first, to the NWA, and during the month there was a number one contenders match. Natalya having a match against Mickie James, and it was Mickie James here that managed to pick up the win, and that earned her this shot at the reigning defending NWA Women's Champion, Chyna. A woman very few seem to be able to have a contest with, frankly, but Mickie James went into this with a lot of energy, and it was quite impressive actually. You see here the spinning back kick to the head connects perfectly, but she's not done yet. Chyna quickly making her pay. And look at this. Chyna going for too much too early, and Mickie James showing that her technique is a big danger for Chyna. It was a back and forth match from that point, but once this happened, the DDT, it was looking bad for Chyna, only for her to kick out. Now, Mickie James did try another cradle later, but you could tell she was kind of running out of ideas, and Chyna just began to take over with her incredible power, throwing Mickie James across the ring, and then here with the pedigree, finishing her off to retain the NWA Women's Championship. Now, there was another NWA match of note. It was the tag team titles, and the four Horsemen members, Baron Corbin, or Happy Corbin as he's known, and Ted DiBiase taking on the champions, Kenta Kobashi and Mitsuharu Misawa. So a huge contest here in the NWA. Baron Corbin with his unique offense and punches that don't look like they connect. Even that one looked like Misawa ducked it. I guess he must have glanced him. But Misawa, of course, with the greater technical ability here, and along with Ted DiBiase, they of course do form a very dangerous team. Ted DiBiase with the elbow drop had Kenta Kobashi in trouble here, but the Japanese champion managed to kick out. Then the submission hold here, Baron Corbin doing his best as a tag team partner to take Misawa out of action. Kobashi fights back on his own, a brainbuster. Could that be it? Misawa gets in if he needs to defend Baron Corbin, and he does so again here when the Burning Hammer lands. And Baron actually didn't even bother getting into the ring for this one. I think sometimes it's not worth saving your tag team partner if they're not going to be able to stand after breaking up the pin. So Kobashi and Misawa retain the NWA Tag Team Championships. We'll move quickly to the WCW because would you believe that for the 76th bloody time, Hulk Hogan wants to defend against Andre the Giant, and no one cared. Hogan had the audacity to want this match to be on pay-per-view, but fortunately there's some people at WCW that are at least smarter than that. So Hogan retains, and WCW keeps going down the drain. Let's go to Raw because they are on the up and up, and their women's division is really exciting at the moment. They had a women's championship match, the defending champion Bayley taking on Sasha Banks, who lost in a tag match a little while ago. It was on the last episode, I believe, but since then has defeated Charlotte Flair in a feud to become the number one contender. And here she is showing why. The three amigos, the suplexes. But both women very technical, and while they weren't always necessarily all about technique, they are aggressive in however they go about things. There's a Bayley to belly off the top rope, and Sasha Banks showing toughness to manage to kick out of that one. But it did change her game plan. She became much more aggressive. The suicide dive there. She uses the elements to her advantage, the barricade, the stairs, and being cocky the entire time about it all. There's a nice neck breaker here that had Bayley in a lot of trouble. The referee quick to the count, but Bayley kicking out, only to find herself in a crossface and in big trouble here. Nowhere to go. This is one of the best moves of Sasha Banks, and it wins her the Law Women's Championship. It wasn't the cleanest win you'll ever see, but she is the champion nonetheless. Title change in Law. We'll switch over to some international wrestling news now and head first to the UK, where NXT had a very interesting contest. Apollo Crews challenging for the European Championship. Now, the European Championship was not defunct by the WWE. I mean, it had kind of just gotten lost in the European scene, and WWE had mostly forgotten about it until they signed Walter and his Imperium teammates, Walter being the reigning WWE European champion at the time. So he's brought that back to the WWE in the form of NXT, and believes it to be a more prestigious title than the NXT United Kingdom Championship. So he's free to defend that title in NXT, and Apollo Crews is his first NXT opponent. The chops are always a big part of Walter's game, but he showed here plenty of other dangerous moves. Apollo Crews, though, not just powerful, but also incredibly athletic. You see that standing moonsault, but those... And he does try to go 1-for-1 with the chops, and they go back and forth here, but it's he's a big man, but he does have some agility, does Walter. He does have also this incredible power and aggressiveness, slamming Apollo Crews to the mat 3 times in a row and retaining his European Championship in NXT. I wonder if he's going to go for the UK title. It doesn't sound like he wants it, but he certainly would be a contender for it. And that match with Sheamus is something that I think everyone would want to see. Now moving over to Mexico, and not a title match we have here. It was Hector Flores, who's a talented youngster and getting momentum in LLM, but he's taking on here Santos Escobar, who, along with his buddies, including the LLM champion, Joaquin Wilde, the other man, put on a fantastic match here. You see the technical ability of Santos here, and then a bit of the roughness too. So Flores didn't get too much of a look in during this match, to be honest, and he didn't even need his buddies to play a part in it, to be fair. You see here Flores did have a flurry of offense, but it was quickly turned around by Escobar, whichever way he had to do it, even if it meant bending the rules. A driver here looked like it could be the finish, but Flores kicking out, showing it does have plenty of toughness, although not enough to kick out of this. Santos Escobar with the pinfall, and certainly a contender in the LLM promotion. But that's it. That's our show. Thank you for watching. I'll leave you with a little blooper I had with Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant. This was fun. Took forever. Had to end up quitting the match. But that is what we have to deal with in this game. I appreciate you watching this. I hope you're enjoying the content and the stories as they progress. Tune in same time next week for the next one. And until then, have a good one.